Hey folks, I get it when you're standing in the music store or scrolling online, the guitar aisle can feel like a maze. You see a sleek wood finish, a brand name you trust, and you wonder if that's the instrument that will finally stick with you when the novelty fades. I was in that exact spot last week, weighing the Yamaha Red Label FG3 against a few other models, and I thought I'd break down what matters before you click Add to Cart. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the FG3 isn't just another entry-level acoustic, it sits in Yamaha's Red Label line, which is meant to bridge the gap between beginner guitars and the more expensive custom series. What that really means in day-to-day use is a solid spruce top paired with solid mahogany back and sides. In plain terms, the spruce gives you a clear, articulate voice that opens up as you play louder, while the mahogany adds a warm, rounded low end. If you've ever tried a laminate top and felt it sounded thin when you strummed full chords, you'll notice the difference right away on the FG3. Now, let's talk about who actually benefits from that tone palette. If you're a beginner who plans to stick with fingerpicking, folk, or singer-songwriter styles, the FG3's balanced response makes it forgiving on the low strings without sounding muddy. The African mahogany neck feels a bit thicker than a typical maple neck, which gives it a solid, stable feel. Great if you have larger hands or you're transitioning from an electric where the neck is a bit more substantial. The Ebony Fingerboard, on the other hand, adds a smooth, fast surface that seasoned players love for quick chord changes. So, if you're a hobbyist who wants a guitar that sounds good enough to record on a laptop and sturdy enough to survive a few years of practice, this model checks those boxes. But there are cases where the FG3 might feel like overkill or simply not the right fit. If you're just picking up a guitar for the first month and you're mostly interested in casual strumming at home, you might not need a solid spruce top. A laminated top could save you a few $100s and still get the job done for casual play. Also, the FG3's neck width is on the wider side, which some players with smaller hands find a little cramped for fast, intricate lead lines. If you're primarily into shredding or flat-picking bluegrass where a narrower neck and a brighter top are advantageous, you may want to look elsewhere. One practical strength that shows up once you start using the FG3 is its projection. Because the body is crafted from solid woods, the guitar carries a surprisingly rich sound even without an external amp. I tried it in a small coffee shop setting, and it filled the room with enough volume to be heard over background chatter without any electronics. That natural resonance is something you won't get from cheaper laminate models, and it translates well if you ever decide to perform live or record acoustic tracks at home. On the flip side, the solid wood construction also brings a hidden trade-off. The guitar is more sensitive to humidity changes. If you live in a very dry climate or you travel a lot, you'll need to keep it in a case with a humidity pack to avoid neck warping over time. It's not a deal-breaker, but it's an extra maintenance step that some beginners overlook. Also, the finish on the FG3 is a natural gloss that shows fingerprints and smudges fairly quickly. If you're the type who likes a pristine look at all times, you'll find yourself wiping it down more often than you might expect. Another practical point is the playability right out of the box. Yamaha tends to set up their guitars fairly well at the factory, and the FG3 is no exception. The action is low enough to be comfortable for chord work yet high enough to avoid buzzing on the lower frets. I didn't have to spend a whole afternoon adjusting the saddle or nut. That means you can start playing within minutes of opening the case, which is a nice confidence boost for anyone still figuring out finger placement. Let's address value for money, because that's the heart of any purchase decision. The Red Label series is priced in the mid-range, often a few $100s less than Yamaha's custom models but a noticeable step up from entry-level student guitars. You're essentially paying for solid wood, a well-crafted neck, and a finish that ages nicely if you let it sit. If you compare that to a similar-priced laminate guitar, the tonal difference is audible, especially when you play acoustically without a pickup. In my experience, the FG3 holds its own against more expensive boutique instruments when it comes to warmth and depth, making it a solid value for players who want a respectable sound without breaking the bank. So, to sum it up, The Yamaha Red Label FG3 is a solid choice for intermediate players, serious beginners, and anyone